Every day we feel like we're in control. We decide what to eat, what to do, who to love. But for decades, neuroscience has been quietly asking a terrifying question. What if your brain decides before you do? Today we're exploring the science behind one of the most controversial ideas in human psychology. Is free will an illusion?
Humans rely heavily on intuition, and our intuition says we choose our actions freely. But the brain isn't designed to reveal its inner workings to you. Consciousness is more like the highlight reel, not the full recording. Just like a phone only shows you the app's interface, not the millions of background processes, your mind shows you the final decision, not the hidden mechanics beneath it. The feeling of free will is powerful, but feelings are not evidence. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet ran a simple experiment that changed everything. Participants were asked to flex their finger whenever they felt the urge. Meanwhile, an EEG measured electrical activity in their brain. And here's the twist. The moment when people felt like they decided to move, their conscious choice came last. The brain's readiness portal, a signal preparing the body to act, appeared 300 milliseconds earlier. That means the brain initiated the action before the conscious mind became aware of it. It was like watching someone press a button after the machine had already turned on. This raised a shocking possibility. Maybe consciousness isn't in charge. Maybe it's just notified afterward. Decades later, scientists repeated Libet's experiment using advanced brain scanning technology, fMRI paired with machine learning. In 2008, a team led by Soon et al. Discovered something even more mind-blowing. Predict a participant's decision, left or right button, up to 7 to 10 seconds before the participant became consciously aware of the choice. 7 seconds. This means your brain begins preparing a choice long before you, the conscious you, enters the story. So to put simply, your brain knows what you're going to do before you know it. This doesn't just challenge free will, it challenges the very idea of a unified self that steers your actions. To understand why this happens, we need to look at how the brain actually operates. The brain is not reactive, it's predictive. It runs stimulations, it anticipates, and it fills in the gaps. Your decisions come from networks that process memories, weigh risks, analyze emotional patterns, detect threats, predict rewards, and choose the most statistically likely next action. All of this happens beneath conscious awareness. Then, once the brain has already launched the process, your conscious mind steps in and says, I made that choice. Consciousness becomes a narrator, not the originator of your decisions. This is called a post hoc rationalization, and it's one of the brain's most consistent behaviors. Part of the illusion comes from the way we imagine the mind. Most people picture themselves like a captain steering a ship. Neuroscience tells a very different story. There is no single control center in the brain. There is no place where your identity sits and pushes buttons. Instead, are a collection of systems. Emotional systems, memory systems, survival systems, habit systems, all running in parallel. Sometimes they cooperate, sometimes they compete, sometimes one overrides the other. What we call the self is actually a story the brain produces to make sense of all those competing processes. And a story doesn't have free will. A story explains action. It doesn't create it. So does that mean we have zero control? Well, not exactly. Some scientists argue that even if unconscious processes initiate actions, the conscious mind has the power to delay or veto them. You could call this free won't. The ability to stop an action even if you didn't initiate the urge. Others say free will exists on a different level. You might not control individual impulses, but you can influence the habits you build, the environment you create, the emotional triggers you reduce, the identity you shape, and the beliefs you reinforce. So instead of moment-to-moment freedom, you get long-term structural freedom. So if unconscious processes shape your decisions, then the key to autonomy is learning how to shape those processes. You gain freedom by rewiring habits, stabilizing your emotional environment, practicing mindfulness to catch impulses earlier, reducing exposures to manipulate systems, and strengthening your future-orientated identity. When you train the unconscious, you train the machine that generates your choices. So the paradox is this. understanding the illusion of free will can actually make you more free. So, is free will real or just a beautiful illusion? The answer is complicated, but one thing remains true. The more you understand the brain, the less it controls you, and the more you control your life.